BlackBusters.
Yo, what up?
Hey.
What up? Welcome to BlackBusters Remixed, the equally best black movie review podcast in the world. I am your host, Tone, and you are here today because you are a fan of the BlackBuster Review Show. And you know what we do there. That's when we go back and we watch an old black movie and we reimagine it. We talk about, what's aged good and what hasn't aged well, and we talk about the things in it. The BlackBuster Remix Show, that's not quite what this show is about. What we're doing here is we are watching a classic mainstream movie and reimagining what this movie would be like if it was starring a black actor or a black ensemble cast. We're going to ask the question, can it be remixed? Can it be remade? Do the things in the movie still apply? So for this first episode, I am super excited to have sitting in the co-host chair. You know her, you love her, you respect her, you envy her, Jayla Faye is in the building. What's up?
Not much. I hope not. How are you though, Tony? How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. If you guys aren't familiar with Jay, you should be. But she has been on a number of the BlackBuster Review podcasts. You did Brown Sugar with us. You did The Best Man with us. And so you guys have been clamoring to get her back on. We've been trying to get her back on. But she is, I thought, would be the perfect person to help me remix The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Whew. We have a lot to unpack with this movie and the reimagining of it, the black reimagining.
Yeah. So let me give them the tale of the tape if they're not familiar. 40-Year-Old Virgin came out in 2005. It's the directorial debut of Judd Apatow. Judd Apatow has given you some of the funniest movies. He had a streak starting in 2005 with the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Then we got Knocked Up, Walk Hard, The Dewey Cox Story, Pineapple Express. Just the whole ring. Superbad. Just a ton of films there. Some people might have known him from Freaks and Geeks. I wasn't a big Freaks and Geeks fan, but I know that that's where a lot of this started out. When you look at the cast of the 40-Year-Old Virgin, you basically have what becomes the who's who of Hollywood, like their freshman year. I mean, you've got so much talent. You got Steve Carell. This is the first time I ever remember seeing Steve Carell. I know he was in Anchorman 2, but for some reason I don't remember him there. I just remember him here. You have Seth Rogen, Elizabeth Banks, Paul Rudd, who I think I remember. Leslie Mann.
She's so good.
Jane Lynch is in this. It's just like
which is insane.
It's insane. It's insane, like the amount of talent that they have in there. Mindy Kaling is in it, like Romany Malco. It's just got like so many great stars. And basically, I'll give you a quick synopsis of the pilot. Steve Carell plays Andy. And Andy is the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Now, he's a good-looking guy, maybe a little socially awkward, maybe a little square, and he's working at the electronics store. And, most folks say hi and get to know him a little bit, but there's not like a whole lot there. One evening, he gets invited to play poker. The guys get to talking sex talk. And through that hilarious reveal, it's identified that Andy is a virgin. And from there, everybody in the store, it's a series of hijinks of getting him set up and teaching him about women and teaching him about sex and how to pursue it. And you have all of these guys that don't know quite as much as they let on. They've all got serious kind of major problems in terms of their understanding of women. In the process of this, he meets a girl, Trish, played by the beautiful Catherine Keener. And she's got 3 kids, so she's had some sex. But they decide to not move that fast. They decide they're going to wait and go on 20 dates. This is perfect for Andy because he's not really comfortable yet. And ultimately, we get to the end of the movie. The reveal is that he's a virgin.
Not okay. I'm a virgin.
But by that time, they've already fallen in love. They live happily ever after. They consummate the marriage. Credits roll them. Jay, tell me, what was your give me your overall thoughts on the 40-year-old virgin, both from like when you remember seeing it from the first time, and then after rewatching it, like how you think it's aged.
I love this movie. I think that it can't really age.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't believe that it can age because it connects to so many people with a very like normal thing. You know, you're expected by a certain age to have lost your virginity. That is not the case for many people for many different reasons. And I think it just kind of shows the process of like a really awkward and, you know, shy, nerdy guy just trying to, you know, find his place in somebody coochie.
Yeah.
And and in the world, you know, like it's so many metaphors to the movie and like a really broader warmth to it that I love. So it was just nice to watch it again. And I you saw before we even got started, we had the cameras getting set up and everything. And he saw my Office poster on the wall. I've been a fan of Steve Carell for years. So I just think he really carries the film, but it has such a solid cast that he don't have to carry it. Like everybody did their big one.
Yeah. It's so hard. And you're right. Kudos to Steve Carell, because if he doesn't pull off a good Andy, if he doesn't pull off a believable 40-year-old virgin, this whole movie can fall apart, right?
Yep.
The magic of it, the beauty of it, the warmth of it works because he works so well. And you realize that he is a beautiful person. Like he's nice
so
guy.
Nice.
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy who is not in his own way. He's just got his own unique quirks. And it's so funny how at the movie, when the movie starts, like he's Pluto in the solar system of all these different people. And by the time we get to the end of the movie, he's the center. Like who he is and who his good heart is brings these people into his orbit. And everyone that was quote unquote trying to fix him, the goodness in him actually fixes them. That's
and rubbed off on everyone else.
100%.
Yep.
100%. I just thought that was it's so beautiful, and the acting is so subtle that he does. But the acting around him, like the other characters, have to be as bombastic and big as they are in order for the insanity of it to all work. Like I love what Seth Rogen is doing in this. I love what Trish does. Like she's so beautiful and warm and welcoming, and you can tell that like she's had a tough life, but she still believes in hope. The relationship and dynamic between her daughter, played by Kat Dennings, who I love. Like this movie is seasoned perfectly.
It is. It's so well written, and for this to be his directorial debut, that's kind of crazy. But we've been seeing lately, like even with Blink Twice, that was Zoe's directorial debut. People be coming out swinging lately, but this is the last time in my memory, like recent years at least, that somebody really came out the park and like just knocked the ball out of the park with a movie like this one. Versus, more recently.
And a movie that, like, it was clear that he knew what he thought was funny. Like, he and his ensemble, like, their universe, I know you're gay. I know you're gay, right? Like, like there was that piece. The raunch was perfect. It was just sophomoric enough to be super funny. And there was a time where like, I want dick jokes. So like I want gay jokes. I want sex jokes. And it like aged up from like the raunch of the 80s. Like, the Revenge of the Nerds and that kind of stuff. It was just a good, funny raunch. Like, and that's a hard,
well balanced.
Yeah, that's hard to do. Like, it's hard to do comedy, raunch, tenderness, like love, like the movie is balancing a lot of different ingredients well. Just like a really good gumbo, like really good.
And
gumbo.
I think that's something he's good at. Like he's proven himself to have this ability to do relatable comedy in a way that is very emotionally, but kind of almost like it's emotionally balanced. It has that depth, but it's also like that levity in the comedic choices he makes. As a director, I think this movie would fall flat without the same director, even with the same cast. I think it's something about the way that he directs and how he sees and writes things that it's just it was great.
I
And also they're
imagine,
all friends, so that
yes,
helps too.
right. So there's a natural built rapport there. I imagine that like stepping into his shoes, that he
Mm-hmm.
might have told the cast and crew, this movie is a love story, or this movie is about
Mm-hmm.
maturity, or this movie is
Yeah.
about growing up, or this movie is about letting go or facing your fears. And if you put that as your baseline rule, and then everything that you build on top of that is is knowledgeable of the fact that at its core, this is what this movie is about. That's what makes it work. I think sometimes when
Mm-hmm.
directors and talent get it reversed and think it's a comedy first and forget about what the humanity part of the story is. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
look at
The core.
Superbad, Superbad is about really two friends at the end of high school dealing with the fact that they're going to be living separate lives and going away
Mm-hmm.
and reconciling that this time of their life is over. That's what it is at its base. It's a story about friendship at its base. And then you pepper it with
Yeah.
all this other kind of ridiculousness. And so, and if it's garnished well, it works. The 40-year-old version is about a lot more than a guy losing his virginity. And that's what I think the movie never forgets. And that's why I think it's so
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable all of these years later.
Yeah, I agree. And I love one thing I know to be true about Apatow is that he really enjoys allowing the cast to improvise.
Yes.
Like even that scene you brought up, like you know how I know you're gay, like
Hmm.
all of that was largely
Yeah,
improvisation.
yeah, yeah.
And I think some of the best directors, like you look at Curb Your Enthusiasm and the way that,
Hmm.
it's a loose script.
Yep,
There's an outline, but
yep,
they are supposed to have fun on set. And you can see that
yep.
in the way that, the outcome,
I think about the
so
term "let them cook," right? Like
let them cook.
let them cook, and they will
Mm-hmm.
100% deliver. Okay, so now that we've kind of established a good baseline, this is where this episode's going to get different. The
Yeah.
first question I want to ask you is, can the 40-year-old virgin be remixed? And if so, that means that we're going to recast Steve Carell's Andy with the black man. And then do we need to
Mm-hmm.
recast the rest of our major characters as black men? So let me start with the first one. Jay, do
Mm-hmm.
you think that the 40-year-old virgin can be remixed with a black male being a 40-year-old virgin?
I'm gonna be honest with you. At first, especially as a huge Steve Carell fan,
Mm-hmm.
I did not think it would, and a huge fan of Judd Apatow. I did not think it would be possible to do, and I was very nervous. Like you remember when we were going over the different options, and I was like, I don't really want to. I don't know. Like the first, But
Yeah.
I was the one who brought this movie up, but like at the same time, I was like, why the fuck would I bring that up in this context?
Right.
Like
Right.
with but I think so. After watching the film and paying very close attention to like the different emotional beats that each character had to hit, like whether they had to have more dramatic moments or not, whether they were full blown comedy the whole time, a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
people who had to improvise, like thinking about other actors, black actors who could fill that same role easily.
Yeah.
It was easy after I just started paying attention.
So I'm with you. At first, I
Hmm.
started with no. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until I started thinking about recasting it that I started to get yes. I take a step back, and the first question that I ask myself is, and I know it's a comedy and I know it's a movie,
Hmm.
but like it's a story, and stories are real, right?
Yep.
And so the first thing that I asked myself is I was like, is it possible for a white guy to be a 40-year-old virgin? And I immediately
Hmm.
said yes. Like it's immediate
Hmm.
to me, it was immediately possible for a 40-year-old white guy to be virgins. I feel like I run into them everywhere, right? Like I
Yeah.
feel like if I'm at
Yeah.
7-Eleven or at the grocery store, I could be like, I know this guy's not smashing anything. He's too geeky,
Hmm.
he's too weird, it's too uncouth. And so then I asked myself, is it possible in the real world for a black man to be 40 years old and a virgin? And I wrestled with that. And I was like, I
Hmm.
don't know if it's possible. Like, do you think it's possible that a 40-year-old, a good looking, not an ugly, because
Mm-hmm.
Andy is not bad looking.
He's not ugly at all.
He's not
I
he's
love
a
me some Steve Carell,
right.
especially with that gray.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let my man see this, but with that silver fox thing he got going
Mm-hmm.
on now,
Yeah,
listen.
yeah. So
Yeah.
a decent looking black man who's a nice guy, maybe a little nerdy,
Mhm.
maybe a little geeky. Is it possible for him to get to age 40 and still be a virgin?
You know why I think you struggle with believing that could be possible for a black man?
Mm-hmm.
It's societally speaking, we hypersexualize black people as a whole, but especially so with black women for different reasons and black men for different reasons. When you put a black man in this scenario, it seems unfathomable because people
Mm-hmm.
genuinely, even if a man is nerdy, even if a man is skinny, even if a man is dorky, even if a man is short, even if a man is any of the number of things that people kind of qualify as a less attractive variable, they are still going to want to see what that dick do. Period.
Right.
There's not, it's hard to believe because unfortunately we live in a society that sexualizes us.
Yes. Yes. And you um climbed into my head because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's possible for a black man in his 20s to go through his entire 20s without getting laid, without making love, without
Mm-hmm.
having sex. That's wholly possible because at that time, women are interested in things like swag and riz and looks and
Mm-hmm.
all these different type of things. And so you might look at a guy like that and be like, he doesn't have any of the qualities that I would look for like in a sexual partner. But then you
Mm-hmm.
turn the corner into the 30s. And when you get to the 30s, I think women's wants change a little bit. And what's
Mm-hmm.
attractive for a woman in her 30s is different from what might have been attracted to her or what she might have been attracted to in her 20s. So a
Mm-hmm.
guy that's a good-looking guy with his own place that works hard, yeah, he's a little square, maybe he can't dance, but he's a good dude. That's the part
Mm-hmm.
that makes me wonder, like, how a black man could get out his 30s being a virgin.
Well,
And that
that's
goes
where the
back to the
story
the
changes.
fetishing. Like somebody
Yeah.
from some race would have got their claws into him, and not let him
Not
get to his 40s.
necessarily.
Okay, school me.
So when I went through the same exact thought process as I was watching the film, I was like, how realistic is this for a black man? But we're talking about the external, the
Mm-hmm.
societal expectations of a black man. I think in order to make this story work, where a black man has gotten to 40 years old and he has not had sex, that is his internal choice. That's his internal schema,
Mm,
his life, his choices, his expectations for what he has for a woman. It could be a number of variations as to why he came to this conclusion that no woman thus far is the person he's wanted to sleep with yet. And then that changes also what you're talking about, that dialogue of, well, women are going to see this guy and say, oh, this is the type of guy that I have to go for. You
mm-hmm.
know, this kind of, I don't want to say corny, but I like corny dudes. So I say it in
Right.
a pleasant way.
Right.
But like the kind of corny guy, the glass is nerdy, dorky, has a good job, like has a home, takes care of his family, that type of stuff women do start to gravitate towards as they get into their 30s.
Yeah.
So he has to be the guy that maybe they're knocking his door down trying to get to him, but he doesn't want anyone. He has a specific set of things, a meticulous set of things. Think about Andy and when he gets up in the morning in that opening scene, that
Mm-hmm.
meticulous, methodical process he goes through with all of his action figures and everything else every morning.
Yeah.
This guy, he applies that meticulousness to choosing his mate.
Okay. So this is interesting. You're starting to paint the canvas with colors that I could see, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're doing the black Andy, he's a good-looking guy. That's the prerequisite in order for Black Andy to even exist. And then what you're saying is that it works. It doesn't work that he just, if I'm understanding and interpreting you correctly, the idea that he could just somehow accidentally not get into his 40s and be a virgin is not a thing, right? Like just simply.
I think it's possible though.
Okay, because what I was tapping into was what you said earlier was the way that like women of all races sometimes kind of fetish black men.
Yes.
And so my thought and theory is that like even the black guy that plays first trombone at State University is getting some ass, right? Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
even
Someone says, I want to see what's going on in them pants.
that's what I'm saying. Even the kid, even the black guy who grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like, and was going to the San Diego Comic-Con and staying in the Airbnb is gonna smash a Becky with freckles and bifocals, right? Like, so
Someone's gonna be curious.
exactly. So I'm picking up what you're talking about, which is if somebody's going to be curious, our Black Andy is going to have the opportunity to smash. And so it doesn't make sense that like he just hasn't had sex. I think it does make sense what you said, which is that he's choosing to not have sex. I think what would make the movie work if we knew exactly what those choices were and why and if they were believable. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's when you delve into, the archetype of Andy, because if we're remixing it and we're going based off archetypes alone, the archetype that Andy has in, the 40-year-old version original is it's gonna have to be different in order to be remixed.
Yeah.
Because we're not just remixing based on race, we're remixing story elements and why and everything. So I think it being a choice, it would make sense, and as we delve deeper into who he is it a religious reason? Is it, a expectational reason? Are his standards way too high and unrealistic? And if so, how did he develop that type of mindset? Where did that extend from in his life?
Yeah, that's very good. And then it makes me think about the surrounding cast and how much that kind of hound dog mentality really permeates like the behaviors of men, right? Like, like the table when they're at the table in the poker, like talking about their sexual exploits, like guys do that. Like, guys get together and reminisce on women they smashed and asses they saw. You know what I mean? Like, some men cannot help themselves, right? Like, you'd be on the golf course. I don't want to out any of my boys, but we'd be on a golf course and it'd be a woman 100 yards away. And look at that, right? So guys definitely put a micro focus on sex. So what would be interesting about it is that if like our Black Andy's relationship to his friends, right? And who are his friends? And so if his friends are like chicken hawks, like I'm starting to believe that like Andy can't just be a black nerd. There's got to be something else. Or what do you think?
I think not only is he a nerd, but he's one thing about the original 40-year-old virgin that I thought about a lot, because when we get into the recasting, you'll see kind of, I don't want to give away my casting choices.
Okay.
But I think what you said about him being surrounded by men is a very important distinction for the remix.
Yeah. I think Andy is not only a nerd, he's a high achieving nerd. Like maybe let's say he's a professional gamer, right? Like he's a professional gamer, and whether it's Call of Duty or World of Warcraft or whatever it is, he's like the LeBron James in that space. So all he ever really does is plug in and game out. And he never really unplugs. And when he does, he's so socially awkward that all he really wants to do is retreat back into his space.
Love that.
Retreat back into the game. And
then also, don't let him be popular. Don't let him have access in a way that makes him question the motives of every woman that does try to get his attention. Because now
he is so focused on the game, right? That like even like he doesn't even notice that women are throwing it at him, right? And he doesn't even notice it because he sits in that gaming chair and he's just he's a supreme athlete. And so he's got attention and he's got money and he's got all of these different things, but he just has no interest for it because that's not where he gets his rewards. And he's been gifted like that like his entire life. So even through like junior high, high school, like we're talking about one of the best gamers the world has ever seen. And then I could see a scenario where either there's
and it's realistic for these young men to play 20 hours a day.
100%. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking because that's what their life is.
Mm-hmm.
And so what the catalyst might be is the power goes out or the grid goes down and he can't play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so now he's or it is
or he's banned.
Or he's banned. That's perfect. That's perfect. Like he's banned. Like something happens. Funny. He accidentally walks across the camera with his dick out.
With his
it's a big thing.
Yep.
And now he's banned, and so now he can't play the game, and now it opens him up to all of these other different things. And then in comes a
regular job,
and a woman who has no idea who he is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
No idea that he's, Black Gamer X 9000 or whatever he's known as.
Mm-hmm.
And now he has to learn all of these things, these social cues that he never had to learn before because he was always plugged in. And maybe that's so good. And with that, with that could come things that he didn't know about Blackness. Because in the virtual space, he's not Black. He's an avatar.
He's a gamer.
He's a gamer. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And no one knows his money, the amount of money that he has. Maybe he's never checked it. I see this being the type of guy who, for whatever number of reasons, he could even have some level of neurodivergence involved here. His black and white thinking is very, very crucial in the way that he looks at the world and the way that he makes decisions. So, yeah.
This might end up being the last podcast that we do on this because this idea is fantastic.
I mean, they need to pay us. And when we get into the casting, Tony, when we get into this casting, because between the two of us, I know we're going to figure something out. Somebody going to watch this. It's not, come on now. They made a whole show called Bel Air from somebody doing a little video in their hometown.
Yeah, because I think this movie, I see it, I think it could be really sweet and endearing, like the 40-Year-Old Virgin, where where he learns about being Black, because now he's out there with other people and he's learning slang, much the same way Andy learned how to do things socially by hanging around the guys. Learn how to drink, learn how to chill, learn how to tell people to shut the fuck up and get the fuck out. The same thing can kind of happen to our guy. He learns how to dance. Of course, he gets to pay attention to a woman for the first time. And then, through some conversation, we can explain, why he loves video games so much. I love rules, or I love solving problems, or I love something, or my mom was sick when I was young and all we had was a Nintendo. And the only thing that made her happy was to watch me play this game. And so...
And I think that point you just introduced about having a sick mother, the
only time he's really happy is when he's playing the game because that was the last time he was with his mom or something like that, right?
Wow.
This makes sense. And I think that's so dope that that it frames it in a way that I think is believable. And I think it's a unique story that really could highlight Black friendship and Black love and Black trauma and Black evolution and
Black neurodivergence. I would love for him to be a 40-year-old man who is on the spectrum.
Yes.
And the reason for that is I can see my sister has autism, and at times it's hard to connect with her because she is so strict about what she is interested in and what she invests her time into that she will eclipse conversations sometimes. We've had this discussion, so I feel comfortable saying it here. She'll eclipse conversations with all of her own interests. And I could see someone, she's learned and now she communicates differently and she has a lot of great friends. But for a time, if she had never had someone communicate to her, hey, this is an issue, I can't connect with you because we're not tennis balling in the conversation. You're not passing the ball back. I'm just swinging and you just, I think that a character like this having that same issue and having real strict black and white, oh, you don't like video games, then I don't want to date you. It would be very simple for him. If this isn't something you like. And I think maybe seeing him go through the process, especially with, Trish and how things end in the original, You know, watching him go through the process of learning, like, oh, you have to make room for other people's interests and they'll make room for yours. Like that's something that I think a lot of people in this day and age are struggling with.
That's actually beautiful. It's so beautiful because video games are based on math, and math is based on rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
Binary ones and zeros. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for this character, his whole world is built within those rules. But
Yeah.
emotions, laughter, friendship, love, pain, disappointment, they're not binary, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
there's not fixed rules there, right?
Yep.
They're organic. You make the rules up as you go. Rules change,
Mm-hmm.
rules are broken, right? And so that's a great collision of his binary rule world and the world that doesn't operate by those same rules. And then
Yeah.
there's him and his ability to understand and comprehend. I think it's a fantastic movie. I think
Yeah, for
and
real.
I think it could be hella funny. Like and I think what we did is what I think makes the 40-Year-Old Virgin work is we focused
Mm-hmm.
on the story first. We focused on the heart first, and then you can build all kinds of hilariousness on top of it, right?
Yep.
Like all kinds
Yep.
of funny ass shit can be built on top of it to make this
Mm-hmm.
movie hella funny, hella black, but
Mm-hmm.
full of heart, just like the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yep.
I think that shit works. I think
I think
I
it
think it
works.
works.
I think it would be great. I
Yeah.
want to talk about this cast.
Yes.
I want to hear your choices.
Okay.
I made a list. Like I prepared.
Okay, so we're getting to the part. So every episode, we're going to do exactly what it is that we just did there. We're going to talk about the movie as it exists in its own universe, in its own timeline, and talk about those themes. Then we'll always the middle of the podcast of each episode will be exactly what Jay and I just did, where we talked about it theoretically. If Andy is black or main character B is black, da 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 da, and then the last part of every show is called the recast. And on the recast, we recast this movie when it was originally released with actors around the same age. We can't be super specific, but we're going to get very close. And then we'll also recast or remix this movie today. So going back to when it was originally released, if I was recasting this, I would recast Steve Carell's character, the character of Andy, and my selection is Harold Perrineau. He's from The Best Man. Okay, you might remember him from The Best Man, the geeky, nerdy Best Man. He was Merch. You remember Merch with the dreads?
Mm-hmm. With the yep.
Mm-hmm. That's my selection, and I'll give it this justification. The character that he plays in The Best Man is a geeky black guy, right? He's a geeky black guy who has a set of friends, maybe isn't like super sure of himself, has a woman who happens to dominate him. But I think I know he could play all of the geekiness. What gives me pause is I wonder if he could play the dry humor and comedy. Like, is he funny enough for the role? But I do think he fits the bill of like a handsome black guy that isn't like, you know, not dead, that, you know, a handsome black guy that might be forgettable in the crowd and not like, you know, have somebody, you know, want to smash and take him down. So that was my choice.
I like that choice a lot. And I think that he reminds me of my partner in a way that, like, my partner Miles will say shit that he doesn't mean to say in a funny way.
Right.
But it will be some of the most hilarious shit. Like, I was on the phone with my homegirl the other day, Jasmine Carter. You probably know Jasmine. She's a comedian out here from Ohio. Yeah. On the phone with Jazz. We on FaceTime just talking. She's like, oh my God, there's somebody outside of my window just like reciting Anaconda. And Miles is sitting next to me in bed. He overhears this. He says, that's crazy that somebody outside is talking about, I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. Me and Jazz are like, baby, Nicki Minaj, Anaconda. Right. But he's a nerd. Like like the guy you're describing, the gamer, my man gamed his whole life. like all day, every day, eating the same bullshit, gaming. So Harold reminds me of Miles in that I think his delivery will be funny simply because even if there are some people that while they don't get they're not comedic, they can like deliver in a way that's just fucking. I think that's a phenomenal choice. Yeah. I chose two people. The first one being Sterling K. Brown.
Wow. And that's if you were recasting today.
If I was recasting today, I would cast Sterling K. Brown. That's okay. Because so I'm gonna just show you a picture from This Is Us when he was, a younger Randall.
Yes. First of all, what you know about This Is Us?
I love This Is Us.
What you know about This Is Us?
Me and Miles watch that all day. Like, that is our show.
Me and my wife being there watching This Is Us, and I be crying like these people is my real family. Like, yes! like I'm being invested. Full fucking tears. Such a beautiful show.
Look at this guy.
That's him. That's him.
That's him, bro. That's him. And like, I wouldn't have. He played that dorky, like really meticulous, analytical role so well that I did not know in real life Sterling K. Brown was ridiculous. Yeah. Like, he's a silly dude. He be getting on his wife's nerves.
He's funny. Yeah.
He's crazy. Like, he's genuinely hilarious. And I think he could hit all of those comedic tones.
And he's got the acting chops for the drama, for the subtlety, because you know what? In so many different ways, Randall is this character that we've been talking about, Black Andy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, in a lot of ways, like when we come to meet Randall as an adult, he's still not fully cool.
Yeah.
He is, like
he doesn't get cool until after he meets his dad. That's when the cool comes in.
100%. You're totally right. Because when we meet him, he's obviously smart, right? And obviously operates at a really high level of intelligence and has integrity. And there's something special about Randall. Something always is. But no, he's not cool. Like, one of the running jokes with his own children is like how uncool you are.
And it's lame.
Even his wife Beth knows how uncool you are. Like, I fuck with you because you're an amazing person and you got a good heart, but you're not cool. And so I think that's a fantastic choice. I see your Sterling, and I'm gonna raise you my other choice. Lamorne Morris.
Oh,
Lamorne Morris.
Lamorne would kill this. I can't believe.
Yeah.
I can't believe. But honestly, I feel like Lamorne would be a great David too.
Yeah. Okay.
Paul Rudd.
This is the cast. The reason why I like Lamorne is Winston Bishop from New Girl.
The New Girl. Yeah.
That character, if you never gave him a girlfriend and all of those in that entire series, it could have been a running joke that Winston was a virgin, right?
Yeah.
They turn him into this quirky kind of character that has a cat and has, these weird stuff and wears the shirts with the birds on it. And he was just awkward enough. And so to that end, it really kind of goes like, okay, now what kind of comedy do you want to do? Because you could cast Lamorne. I think if you cast Lamorne as Andy, and this is just me in the casting chair now, and you populate him with funny Black talent, I think you get a closer version to the 40-year-old virgin than what was originally intended. I think if you cast Sterling, I think you almost get like a Forrest Gump version of it, only in the sense that Forrest Gump was funny but had a lot more heart than it maybe had humor. And I think if you cast Sterling as Black Andy, you're going to get a lot more heart. It's still going to be funny, but it's going to be funny in the way that Forrest Gump was funny, which is you get a couple of laughs, but really this movie is kind of a little bit more drama than it is comedy. If you cast Lamorne, it's going to be funnier. And you're gonna hope that you can stick to dramatic landing. But those are fantastic fucking choices. those are fantastic choices.
That's I love Lamorne. I can't believe I didn't think of him. Okay, so moving on.
Okay.
We got our guys. I mean, who are we settled on? Who are we choosing? Because those are three incredible.
I'm going Lamorne.
You're going Lamorne?
Okay.
It's hard.
I'm fucked up.
Because I feel like Lamorne, he has the depth that Sterling K. Brown has as an actor. Like, he can hit all of those emotional notes that Sterling can. I know he can. I like Sterling's look better. I think Sterling looks more nerdy than Lamorne ever can. But I think Lamorne acts more nerdy than, like, it's a weird, I wish I could put them both together, which is why I was saying, like, I would put either of them. Well, you know, the problem for me is I can see Sterling as Andy. Yes. I cannot see Sterling as Paul Rudd's character, David.
This is true. This is super true.
I can see Lamorne as both easily.
I think the more interesting choice is Sterling. I honestly do. Because I think if you can go Lamorne, you're going comedy. But like, even though it's Geeky Randall, there's a handsome charm about him. And we need him to be fish out of water in an interesting way. Right? Like,
I think,
and so I think that you could cast somebody like Lamorne as who he now has to work with now that he's been banned, right?
Yes.
Or you know, or his cousin, that
his manager,
or his manager, whoever it is. And the thing is that once Sterling, our Andy, is out in the real world, because he's handsome enough, you could throw a lot of different types of women at him. And like, that could be very interesting. Like, you and I, like, we could be in a casting room and like, I guess these are maybe the decisions that these studios have to make. Yeah. Right? Because, you know, like, if somehow I hit you up and I was like, Jay, I don't know where I found this, but I've got money. I've got enough money to get this project made. I work with this guy. I got a great fucking script, right? Like, you know, the streamers are behind it. Like, Paramount Plus wants to put it out, but we have to decide what they need in order for them to write the check. Is they need for me to tell them who's going to play Andy. I think we could be up for days.
I wouldn't. I would know. Only because now I'm going into the producer mode, and production wise, if I'm an EP on this project, I'm going to say Sterling K. Brown is Andy because he's going to pull in the This Is Us audience. Yeah. Like, those people are going to show up in droves to the theater. I'm going to say Lamorne as one of those top characters, whether it's David, whether it's Cal. But Lamorne in the room is going to pull in all those new girl folks. He just won an Emmy for a phenomenal performance. Like, he's an Emmy award winning performer, as is, you know, Sterling K. Brown. Like, both of these men are heavy hitters. The only problem for me is I want Sterling, and I cannot see Sterling playing anyone else but Andy.
This is it.
I love Lamorne, but I can see Lamorne killing Andy. I can see Lamorne killing David. I can see Lamorne killing Cal, Jay, even. Now, so Trish, though, Regina Hall.
That's perfect.
Point blank, period. There's no one else.
It's perfect.
That it could be. Yeah.
There's nobody else that I would trust with it because, again, you know, Regina, because Judd's movies, and we're making a Juddish movie, but it requires a subtlety of both dry and wet humor, for lack of a better word, right? Yeah. And she's the master of that.
She's so good. Like, and then she also has that warmth.
100%. So she could totally play Trish, and I could totally find her, like, her frustrations on why Andy don't want to sleep with her, and her having conversations with her girlfriend, and just all of that. Like what she would pull from, I think, would be fantastic. I think
Yeah.
it'd be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a 100% winner. She did a movie with Sterling, that Honk If You Love Jesus. Have you seen that
Yep.
one?
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's how I know that those two could pull it off, right?
Yeah. They play off
Because
of each other really well.
and that movie had a heaviness to it.
Yep.
Very interesting fucking movie. If you haven't seen that movie, check it out. But yeah, I think it's there. Yeah, and I think what it is that if we're sitting in the producers' room and we've made these decisions, I think what we say to
Mm-hmm.
ourselves is if we cast Sterling and Regina, we've got a hit, and we've got a different type of movie than a remix of 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's got a lot of the same genome, but simply who
Mm-hmm.
they are as actors are going to change the output. If we go with Lamorne as Andy, um, and find someone that aligns well to him, then we're going to get a different kind of output. And then we would just have to decide what kind of movie we want to make.
Yep.
But I think these would be good problems. The only other wrinkle, were there any other cast that you wanted to call out?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, go through it.
So Andy,
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing Sterling K. Brown.
Yep.
Trish, I saw Regina Hall.
Mm-hmm.
David. Now, previously, I had Shantae Wayans
Okay.
as David.
Okay.
I had his best friend being a stud.
Love
I
it.
love Lamorne Morris in that role as well. And
Yep.
maybe Cal could either be Lil Rel Howery
Mm-hmm.
or Shantae Wayans.
Yep.
Jay would stay Romany Malco. Period. Like,
100%.
why he a black man already, and he did his big one. You know, I
100%.
don't see it needing to be anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Paula, Jane Lynch's character, I saw Niecy Nash.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, that you
That's
did
just
good. You did good. I would probably pepper it with, I feel like content creators and influencers and
mhm.
new age actors like you, if given the opportunity to cook, like I could see like
Yeah.
you get a Drewski in there. You know what I mean? Like,
hmm
you
The
know,
speed daters.
yeah. Oh, the speed, that
Yeah.
would be perfect. Like
Yeah.
if the speed, that'd be perfect. Um, the only other wrinkle that I had for you is at first when I couldn't imagine the movie being played by a male, I flirted with
hmm
the idea of the 40-Year-Old Virgin being a female, a black
Ooh.
female who is 40 years old
Uh
and
huh.
is a virgin. And
Okay.
I was like, then I had to kind of like stop because like that's a fundamental different movie. Like we would have to do everything we just did and redo it. But I thought that could be
hmm
funny as well.
Uh huh.
And the reason why I thought it could be funny because I thought it could really put a spotlight on these things that men think about women or
Yeah.
that like women think about men. Like she's a virgin because she's stuck up or her standards are too high or she's uppity or whatever, and finding something
hmm
like True, which is like, listen, there are some people that wait on the right person, and that's
hmm
okay. We don't talk about that enough. And that is kind
hmm
of like what I'd want whatever remix we did to put power behind that idea that like just because somebody isn't smashing, there's nothing wrong with that. Right. And I
Yeah.
think there's a stigma attached to it. Like, what? You're not fucking? No, I've never been in love. I just happen to want to do it with somebody that's for those of us
hmm
that do and did it premaritally, you know, like, would I take any of them back? No. But did I need all of them? No. Right? Like,
Yeah.
like, would I wish I've had less? I don't know. But what I do know is I was probably playing a dangerous game with both my emotions and theirs. Right. And
Uh-huh.
at the end, what should have been maybe more beautiful moments is utterly like, I don't want to say insignificant, but like I guess they were like moments, just like moments like in time. I'm not trying to be too romantic about the shit,
Mm.
but what I'm saying is that I think that if you tell them, I have daughters, and if there was a movie that was made that was funny and that was like, listen, you can wait for as long as you want to wait. Just wait on the right person. I think that's a good message.
Mm-hmm.
I
I think it's a great message. I think if I were to cast someone in that role, it will, and they have to be 40.
Okay, we're imagining.
If we're gonna do it, I would want that woman to be in her 40s.
Okay.
I wouldn't want her to be playing older. You know. Oh, one last thing though, with the remix, we need a Black director. I would want Jamal Dado.
Ooh. Okay.
I just wanted to add that before we jump into the gender swap, because Jamal Dado is a fantastic director. He has a movie called 3 Ways on Hulu. I love his directing style. I think he makes very colorful choices, both in the way that he has the actors present themselves, and then also in the color choices and tone he chose for the film. I just think he would be fantastic.
Damn, that's okay. I love that. Here's who I'm going with. I'm going with Jordan Peele. Okay? And here's why.
Okay.
Here's why. Mm-hmm. We know he understands funny from the Key and Peele show, right?
Yeah.
We know we know he knows funny. We know from his horror work that he understands character and knows how to like world build, right?
Yeah.
And so if he were interested, that would to me would be a blend. And he's a geek. And he knows about not, fitting in. So he's the perfect kind of person to understand maybe what Black Andy is going through and what his perspective would be. And so he would be a unique choice because he has enough of the attributes and the buckets that we need. We need somebody that understands comedy. We need somebody that understands character, and we need somebody that understands maybe being uncomfortable in Black spaces, right?
Yeah.
Because our Andy is being reintroduced to Black spaces. Oh gosh, I didn't know this podcast.
He would kill that.
Right?
No, he would. I'm just mad I didn't think of that first. I love, but I stand by Jamal Dado. Yeah. I think he would be incredible.
Yep.
Yeah, but Jordan Peele, his connection to the actual content of the film, like that, I think is what really would set his directing approach apart. Because Jamal doesn't give nerdy Black guy. He very much gives cool guy who wrote a movie and directed a movie about a threesome. Yeah. So I think he needs to direct the sequel. Of anything.
He's got the ending of the movie down.
Right. Yeah. He's got that for sure.
Oh, this is, what an interesting episode. This this idea of remixing, just literally in the hour that we've been talking and taking this movie, and I think literally it could be remixed in an awesome way.
Yeah, I think this will be a great film. I hope someone makes it.
Well, shit, they better.
That's how I feel.
And we better be attached to it because, like I said, I've got to call my attorney when this is over. I'll be like, I just finished the pod with Jay. I was like, listen, is there any way that I can take this episode and mail it to myself and just keep the envelope sealed? And
so that people don't just run with it. But I will say, in the past, when people have done things like this and it's ended up being made, those people didn't get X'd out. Yep. Thank goodness. Yep. Like that Bel Air thing, that shit went crazy, and they still got.
And it's a reimagining. I love that. Like, so Jay, thank you for tapping in. I think we can effectively answer the question that the 40-year-old virgin can be remixed. We talked about the themes and the manner in which it would need to be remixed. We had a wonderful conversation about who we would cast and who we would have directed. That's what this show is about. God, it probably is going to go
This is
downhill
fun.
from here because, like, I don't know if anybody else is going to be able to do it. But Jay has given me a list of movies that she wants to do, and I am going to be about my business to be sure that I get her on as much as possible. Um,
Oh,
you were a fantastic passenger to walk through this movie with. So
it was
that's
so
all.
fun.
Man, it was so fun. It was so fun. That's all the time that we have for this week. BlackBuster Remix. Let me tell you, we would like to. Ultimately, I like this this show to come out every Wednesday. I'd love to put it out every Wednesday. It may be every other Wednesday. You know, we're going to figure out our right cadence. We're going to figure out the right support that we have in terms of editing and all the different type of things. But expect to see this show more often. I'm your host, Tone. That's Jada Fade. And this is BlackBuster Remix. We will see you within the next 2 weeks, if not next week.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate you for showing up. Hit the subscribe button. We holler at y'all later. Peace.
Bye.
BlackBusters.